In this video clip, we will take a closer look at problem-solving strategies for kindergarten and grade 1. In this video, you will learn about problem-solving strategies for kindergarten and grade 1, how students learn to represent their thinking in meaningful ways as a key foundation to problem-solving, the read, draw, write process for problem-solving, and also how the number bond can be used as a great visual model to represent thinking when problem-solving.
When we take a look at key standards in kindergarten and first grade, you will notice that representing mathematical problems is embedded throughout the standards. Students being able to represent their thinking is a key foundation to problem solving that we introduce in kindergarten and first grade and build upon throughout the grade levels. In this video, I'll show some of the early progressions of strategies we teach students as we introduce them to a variety of ways to represent their thinking. An important part of problem solving in math is to be sure students have a good understanding of the problem and what it is the problem asks students to solve. We use the read, draw, write approach to help students do just that. Students read the problem as a whole to gain an initial understanding. Students then reread and draw a model of the problem. As problems get more complex, students may need to go back a few times to be sure each part of the problem is considered and represented. Next, students write an equation or equations that help solve the problem. And finally, students write a statement that answers the question. In this first example, I'm going to begin by reading the problem. 4 bunnies sat on the grass. 5 more bunnies hopped there. How many bunnies are there on the grass now? As I reread, I'm going to start drawing out different parts of the problem. To help students begin bridging moving from concrete objects to representing objects, it's perfectly acceptable early on for students to draw pictures to show the objects. In this example, I'm going to draw out 4 bunnies. And then I'm going to show that 5 more hopped over. In kindergarten, I then may count up all the bunnies in total. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I can also represent each part of this problem using a number bond. A number bond is an organizer that helps students see the part-total relationship of a problem. In this case, we start with one part, which is 4 bunnies. 5 more bunnies come over, and that's the other part. The total number of bunnies on the grass now is 9. My final step is to write this as an equation. 4 plus 5 equals 9. In this subtraction problem, we're going to move along to some of the next phases of representing problems. You can imagine that drawing pictures of objects for every problem can become inefficient. So, as quickly as makes sense for each student, we start moving to representing objects with dots or circles. I will do that with my 6 apples now. One other idea we introduce is representing objects in groups of 5. We start to help students recognize and organize their thinking in groups of 5 to improve their efficiency and overall sense of numbers. This also helps students move away from counting each object individually. To represent subtraction, I will simply cross off the 2 apples that I ate. I can see now that there are 4 apples remaining. On the number bond, you'll see that I'm actually starting with the total of 6 apples. I ate 2, which is one of the parts, and I'm looking to find the other part, which I have determined is 4. My final step is to represent that problem using the subtraction equation. 6 minus 2 equals 4. In this next problem, we will introduce a tape diagram. A tape diagram is one kind of graphic organizer that can help students represent their thinking. In the problem, 12 bunnies were sitting on the grass, and I can show that by drawing my 12 circles. And placing them inside this rectangle that looks like a piece of tape that I might find where I live or in my classroom. I know in total there were 15 bunnies. I also know that I started with this initial 12 bunnies, and I'm looking to see how many hopped over. As a first grade student, I might start from that 12 and count up until I get to 15 and show it this way. 13, 14, 15. With the help of the tape diagram, I can see that 3 bunnies hopped over. On the number bond, one of my parts is 12. I know I have a total of 15. And with the help of the tape diagram, I've identified that 3 bunnies, the other part, hopped over. For an equation, I may recognize this as an addition problem. 12 plus something equals 15. I may also recognize it as a subtraction problem. 15 minus 12 equals 3.
Now that you have seen some examples of problem solving, there are a few things we want you to keep in mind. With our youngest learners, problem solving may include representing problems using manipulatives, then drawing the pictures, representing them using symbols, and finally using a tape diagram to represent more complex numbers and situations. Problem solving is introduced in kindergarten and first grade, but these problem-solving strategies continue to develop with students as they begin to problem solve using more complex numbers and situations. In this video, we hope you learned more about problem-solving strategies for kindergarten and grade 1, how students learn to represent their thinking in meaningful ways as a key foundation to problem solving, the read, draw, write process for problem solving, and also how the number bond can be used as a great visual model to represent thinking when problem solving.